Okay, so this is Joe, and I'm going to be doing a review of the Ozark Trail, which is aka Walmart TeePee tent, and the Coleman cot, which I'll give some more information on. I'll do a quick walk around of the tent. As you can see, I've got the Coleman cot. It's a large, oversized cot inside there. Walmart says this is a 7-person tent. Yeah, no, not so much. But it's a sub $70 tent. So it's under $70 for the tent. And I'll do a quick walk around. You can see that I have the window flies open and then staked out. I don't have them rolled up. You can roll them up. There was a lot of people complaining about this tent because if it rains with the flaps rolled up, you had to go outside to roll them down and close it up in the rain. But I can vouch for the fact that I set this tent up one afternoon, because I always set up a tent before I go out on any hiking or anything, or camping, and to waterproof them and check the seams to make sure there aren't any quality control issues. But I had them set just the way I had them right now, and we got a good pounding Louisiana rain, and no rain got in with the windows set the way they are right now. So you can get a nice breeze through there, and in fact the rain did cool it off. The air comes in through the windows, and you've got at the top of the tent 3 vents in the top. As you can see, there's plenty of room for the cot, and I got my warm weather sleeping bag in there. It's kind of a neat little cot. It's got the little table, which I can put a book, my Kindle, or something like that on. But back to the tent, you can see here's one of the seams. It's good stitching. It's not bad quality for the cost. But, as I've said, you've got quality control. And there's the vents at the top. You've got some quality control things. Anytime you buy something like this, ideally you're going to check it all out before you take it out into the woods. Here's the other thing that I've noticed, that if you look down at the bottom here, that is got some reinforcement there, okay, for the post. But if you look at another corner, that has no reinforcement, okay. And here's the other post right here, and there's reinforcement there. So if you weren't paying attention and you tried to set these posts up in the wrong orientation, you would probably rip this tent. Just saying. I'm gonna spin it around. Good vent. Again, I'm looking at the quality of the stitching is pretty good. This tent was $49. And I don't know about you, but if I buy something for $49, I'm not going to take it straight out to the old campsite and try it out. I'm going to set it up at home, check all the seams for quality control issues, and then seal it with a little bit of sealant. 1 or 2 cans of sealant, hit the seams real good, and like I said, I had 1 coat on it, and that deluged it just downpoured, and no water got in the tent through the windows at all, because I have the flaps just open and propped out. All right, so the next thing, a couple drawbacks. One would be, if it's raining, you got your main flap here. One of the drawbacks of the main flap is it's angled. So if it's raining, guess where the rain's going? If you've got to get in this tent in the rain, there, it's coming straight down through the tent and down. It's going to fall right in here when this is opened up. So your floor is going to get wet if you've got to open your door. The other thing about it I'm not too keen on is the actual flap on the tent. There is no screen. It would have been nice to have a screen, so that you could pull the main flap back and have a screen to keep the bugs out and keep the tent open. But with 4 windows in the top vents, you get pretty good cross ventilation through there anyways. So again, zippers are pretty good. We'll zipper it up real quick. Let you see how that is. So undo that. And we go up here and we zip it, and there's 2 flies here. There's one fly right here, and I'll zip the bottom. One-handed zipping. And we're up. So it's kind of got a dual fly thing going on here. You got a little fly on this door right here that lays down that way, and then you got another fly that lays over the top of it. Again, in the deluge that I had coming down on me, no problem with water coming into it. So overall, you know, again, sub $70 tent. The steaks are pretty darn good, I think. People were complaining about the steaks, but let's take a look at one of them. It's in there pretty good. I beat it in with a rubber mallet. Yeah, you know, I've got some tornado steaks too. Some aluminum tornado steaks that I bought, but I figured I'd try these out as well, and they worked fine. I've got no separation at any of these. Again, this is the one over here. It's reinforced for the pole. The pole is right there inside it, and I've got no separation from here, no separation there. So, real quick, pros and cons as I walk around it one more time. I think a pro is that it's kind of an interesting looking tent. Doesn't take up a lot of ground space. Certainly great for one. You could probably put two cots in it, you know, and 2 people, 1 on each side of the doorway, and then have a little room in the middle. And of course, you can store stuff underneath the cots. Ventilation in the top. Down here, the ventilation down in Louisiana, the ventilation is real important. I like that the flaps can be rolled up if you want to, but you can leave them down even in a rainstorm and still get, you know, that nice cool rainy air coming through it, which I experienced the other day when I set it up. I've had no leaks or rips. So pros, interesting shape. I like the windows. There were a lot of complaints about the windows of this tent, that you had to get out if it rained. You had to get out and roll them down, but if you stake them out, you don't. You don't have to get out. It can rain and you'll still get the nice breeze. If you get a really going and blowing storm, yeah, you're gonna have to zip them down. All the zippers were good, all the seams were good, but again, that's quality control. You know, on a $50 tent, if you're not setting it up before you go out to the woods, well, you know, you're taking your risk with that. And certainly, at least spraying it with some sealant to seal the main canvases and all the seams pretty good. And then, if you really wanted to go to the trouble, you could get some of the seam sealer and actually seam seal it. So I like the way it looks. I got a good one. All I can say about that is I got a good one. The quality on this one's pretty darn good. Drawbacks: if you got to open up the main fly in the rain, water's going to get in the tent because it just comes right down from the sky into the tent. There's no overhang. It would have been nice to have some kind of a rain fly that kind of covered up the door so that you could get in there without letting rain in. But let me think if there are any other drawbacks. That's really the only one that I could come up with. The only drawback I had was, like I said, I opened it up when that rainstorm started to get into the tent, and that's why you saw a towel on the floor of it, because a lot of rain fell in the doorway as I was zipping it back up again. The floor is thin. That's another con, I guess. The floor is very thin. You could probably, a stick would probably run right through it, without a doubt. A stick would probably run right through this thing. Now for the pros, I'm 6'2" and I can stand up and change my clothes in it. I don't have to crawl into it. I can stand up and walk into it. I can sit up on the cot and not have my head brushing on the ceiling. I have a oversized cot inside there. That's an 80-inch cot, so I can lay out a big cot in there and have plenty of room. It's not a backpacking tent. It is definitely a car camping tent. So is a cot. You obviously wouldn't take a cot with you in a backpacking trip. But if you were going out somewhere fishing, and just wanted to be, relatively comfortable. And I would definitely recommend putting a tarp underneath it. Get a good heavy-duty tarp from Harbor Freight or anywhere that sells, heavy-duty tarps. You can put a secondary floor in it. If you lay it down on rough terrain and sticks, I can almost guarantee you that they'll poke through the floor. The floor is not real strong, so that's a weak point. And it's not canvas; it's thin nylon material, just like any other tent would be. So, like I said, the layout is pretty good. I like the cot as well. That's a review for another time. This is primarily the tent. And the lines the tie-out lines for the windows, I'm probably going to replace them with a neon or reflective paracord, which is cheap too. And that's just that way people can see it and not trip on them if I'm in a congested campsite. But other than that, I was really impressed with it. I was kind of, once again, I had a lot of people dogging it. They were dogging it online and dogging it with the reviews. There's a lot of 2-star reviews and cheaply made. When we set the poles up, it went right through the corner. My bet is when they set the poles up, they didn't put them in the right place, because the corners that I set mine into are reinforced and they didn't even squeak. Sets up pretty well. I was able to set it up alone. I had the whole thing staked out and set up in about 10 minutes, so it can go up pretty quickly. And again, the main drawback that I saw is that if you got to get in and out of it and it's raining, rain's going to fall right through that door and right into the tent. There is no rain fly to kind of keep the rain out, which, you can get a tarp or something like that if you wanted to in a bad rainstorm and put it over the front of it. That probably would solve that problem. So, again, that's the review. It's about all I have to say about the tent. Again, it's a sub $70 tent. So, if you're going to buy this tent, word of warning: set it up before you go camping in it. I mean, look at the seams. If you get a good one, you got a good one. If you get a bad one, take it back and try another one. I probably would figure, on most tents that are even sub $100 tents, I would figure 1 out of 5 of them is probably going to be a piece of crap. It's going to come off the line improperly. It's going to have improper stitching. The zipper is going to be messed up. Something's going to be messed up on it. So set it up, thoroughly check it, and you know what? A can of spray, and spray it all down real good to give yourself a little extra protection from the elements. So other than that, I'm Joe, and this is the TeePee tent from Ozark Trail, 7-person TeePee tent. And like I said, I'm pretty impressed for the cost, for the price point. I'm pretty impressed with this tent. Thanks.